From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Right now, a record number of migrants are cramming into detention centers, causing chaos at the border. So what are D.C. lawmakers planning to do to combat the growing problems?
Plus, Shot in the Dark, a program that provides drug users with clean needles, pushing the boundaries to stop the spread of diseases.
When your foot is on the ground, your joint needs a lot of support from this device.
And an inflatable exosuit designed right here at ASU that's taking major strides to change lives.
Cronkite News starts now.
Bursting border. Although the number of migrants apprehended at the border fell last month, they are still at the highest levels in a decade. Good evening, I'm Owen Evans.
And I'm Kyla Wilcher. With close to 800,000 migrants held so far this fiscal year, detention centers are bursting at the seams, and lawmakers are searching for answers. As Julian Paras reports from our Washington Bureau.
Unsanitary conditions and untreated illnesses, overcrowding, overworked staff, even allegations of sexual assault. Everyone at today's Senate Homeland Security Committee hearing agreed there's a problem at the border that needs to be addressed. But coming up with an answer was elusive.
Few issues we face are as complex as this one. But today I hope we can find common ground, identify bipartisan solutions, and deliver real comprehensive results for the American people.
Before they can agree on a solution, lawmakers have to agree on a problem, and senators had different takes. For Republicans like Committee Chairman Ron Johnson, the problem won't go away as long as U.S. immigration laws provide an incentive for migrants to risk the trek here.
What I would suggest is the solution, which we've been suggesting all along, is, in this case, with this problem in the here and now, is let's address the root cause, this uncontrolled flow of individuals.
Democrats say what's needed is action now. Better treatment for migrants, uniform policies, more beds, and better oversight of Customs and Border Protection workers. But acting CBP Commissioner Mark Morgan told the committee that his officers are already doing a lot.
We are comforting infants. We're taking the sick to the hospital, averaging over 800 hospital visits per day. We're expanding our medical care, ensuring children are provided medical screenings. We're building soft-sided facilities to provide a more adequate environment for families and children.
No one downplayed the hard work of frontline officers, but some question the transparency of the agency's higher-ups.
When senior officials from the Border Patrol refuse to be transparent or seek to mislead Congress, it does serious damage to the credibility of the entire Border Patrol. And most importantly, it undermines the security and humanitarian mission that we are all grappling with.
Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema asked what's being done to address reports that children detained in Yuma may have been sexually assaulted. Morgan said the CBP is working closely with other agencies to get those reports sooner and act on them immediately. While no firm solution was reached, senators seem optimistic.
We now have an opportunity to examine where we have failed and where we have succeeded and put lessons into practice.
Morgan has also said CBP has spent, quote, tens of millions of dollars to improve conditions throughout southern border facilities and is on pace to spend $700 million to improve detention center conditions. In Washington, Julian Paras, Cronkite News.
This video is making its rounds on social media right now, showing seesaws that were installed between the border fence in Sunland Park, New Mexico, which is separated by a steel fence from Ciudad Juarez in Mexico.
Professors from UC Berkeley and San Jose State University came up with the idea so kids on both sides of the wall can play together. And as you can see, some adults jumped in too.
The teeter-totter wall was designed back in 2009, and it finally became reality a decade later.
Arizona Senator Martha McSally, who revealed earlier this year that she was raped while serving in the U.S. Air Force, said today that the allegations of sexual assault against President Trump's pick to be the nation's second highest military officer are unequivocally false.
The truth is that General Hyten is innocent of these charges. Sexual assault happens in the military. It just didn't happen in this case. I pray the accuser gets the help she needs and finds the peace she is searching for, but it cannot be by destroying General Hyten with these false allegations.
Hyten's accuser was sitting just feet away as McSally dismissed her allegations as untrue before the Senate Armed Services Committee. The allegations were made in April, just after General Hyten was nominated. The U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations cleared him earlier this month, saying, quote, there was insufficient evidence to support any finding of misconduct.
Sex trafficking is a major problem here in Arizona, so several big companies are looking at how their employees can help spot potential victims and help them. Cronkite News reporter Amanda Slee is live at Sky Harbor now, where American Airlines hosted their first training session earlier today. Amanda?
Today is World Day Against Human Trafficking. SAFE, which is known as Safeguarding All from Exploitation, is hosting trainings for companies. They reported that the mean age for a child to be forced into sex trafficking is around 15. Last year, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children found that 1 out of 7 runaway children reported were a suspected victim of human trafficking. According to today's training, Arizona is a big spot because the state hosts major sporting events, conventions, and has easy access to interstates leading to California and Las Vegas. Although airport employees have been instructed on these situations, this session was a more extensive in-person training since there is only so much a pilot or flight attendant can do up in the sky.
We have had flight attendants approached on the plane with notes, things that say, help me, I've been abducted. They want to know, what do we do? We're at 37,000 feet, and where do we turn to next? How do we do this? We're landing. Different scenarios like that have actually happened.
Today's training was the first of many. The AG's office and SAFE are holding these free trainings for any companies that come in contact with victims or traffickers. Live in Sky Harbor, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
2 Somali refugees living in Arizona were charged with providing support to a terror group after authorities say they were planning to travel from Tucson to Egypt to join the Islamic State. The men, both in their 20s, told an undercover FBI employee they wanted to travel to the Middle East to carry out violence and, quote, achieve martyrdom. They were arrested Friday after checking in for their flights and making their way through security at the Tucson airport.
Just one day after former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords tweeted that there have already been 246 mass shootings this year, another gunman opens fire in a Mississippi Walmart, shooting 2 people to death. A responding officer and the suspect were also injured in the incident. Authorities have secured the scene and are investigating what led to the shooting. And tonight, we're learning more about the Gilroy, California mass shooting that left 3 young people dead and 12 others injured. Among the victims, 13-year-old Kayla Salazar. Her aunt says she saved a family member's life at the cost of her own. 25-year-old Trevor Irby, whose grandmother says he was friends with everyone. And the youngest, Stephen Romero, who had just turned 6 and was excited to start first grade soon. Police identifying the killer as 19-year-old Santino William Legan, saying he used an AK-47 assault-type rifle in the attack, legally purchased in Nevada. The weapon is banned in California. Giffords, who survived a mass shooting in Tucson in 2011, taking to Twitter once again, saying, quote, school should be safe, garlic festivals should be safe, Walmart should be safe. We can't let this become normal.
Wildlife officials are trying to kill a bobcat suspected of attacking a family in Arizona. They believe the wild animal has rabies because of its bizarre behavior.
Behavior is extreme by any reasonable standard. This isn't someone just coming across a bobcat and quickly getting bit and then the bobcat running off. This is sustained attacks on human beings.
The attack happened while the family was camping on Mount Graham on Sunday. The bobcat first went after a 4-year-old girl who was bitten in the head. The animal then attacked other family members who rushed to the girl's rescue. The toddler has been treated for rabies exposure and she's already out of the hospital. Wildlife officials are now setting up traps and trying to lure the bobcat in.
Now, the state of Arizona has debated laws that would allow clean needle programs to finally operate legally. However, there continues to be pushback.
But one program that provides drug users with clean needles says they're helping stop the spread of several diseases. Cronkite News reporter Tanaya Williamson joins us with more on that. Tanaya?
The nonprofit is operated by people who have either used drugs or have family members who have used them. And while what they're doing is not completely legal, they don't plan to stop anytime soon.
It doesn't matter what laws are in place, and it doesn't matter what people say. Like, people are going to use drugs if they want to use drugs, right?
Jonathan Martinez knows what he's talking about. As a volunteer with Shot in the Dark, a clean needle exchange program,
Need cottons? Yes, and Narcan? Sure. All right.
he helps drug addicts manage their habit in a safer way.
We're an SAP, so Syringe Access Program.
Needle exchanges in Arizona are not specifically outlawed, but they do violate the state's drug paraphernalia laws. This presents many challenges for organizations like Shot in the Dark to operate. 2 weeks ago, they were asked to leave one of the sites they work out of by a nearby property manager. And it's not the first time.
We have been kicked out of so many places in the past year and a half. And just my site, you know, we've been moved around a lot.
Jonathan's particular site was operating in this parking lot of a business center in Mesa. According to Shot in the Dark, Arcadia Management Group, which manages the property, asked them to leave. Cronkite News reached out to Arcadia, but they declined to comment.
We have a drug crisis in our state, but we also have a crisis in the areas of HIV spreading and hepatitis B spreading.
Republican State Representative Tony Rivero has introduced a syringe access bill for the past 2 years. He says the bill would legalize the operation of programs like Shot in the Dark, but there's been resistance.
I think part of the issue for policymakers is the concern about a perception that we're saying, go do more drugs, that we're pushing people to do drugs, and that's not the case.
For its part, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office has not taken a public stance yet on this issue. In a statement, they say, quote, "Please note this office did not take part of any conversations tied to any proposals in the last legislative session and took no position on those proposals." Through previous statements on needle exchange programs, you will find Mr. Montgomery feels the best approach to the issues surrounding substance abuse is to focus first on prevention through education and awareness and then drug treatment, end quote. In addition to public backlash, Shot in the Dark is also facing financial difficulties as funds dry up as the program remains in legal limbo.
We're not funded by the government. We're not funded by the state. We're definitely not funded by the county.
Which is why Representative Rivero says he firmly believes his bill would help an already complicated situation.
This is an opportunity for nonprofits to engage people who have drug addiction problems and direct them to programs that can help them get off drugs.
They help a lot of people. It's not just with helping them with new syringes or water. It's support. They listen to you. They're there for you. A lot of people on the streets, that's what they need.
The bill proposed by Representative Rivero has passed in the House but not in the Senate, which means that Shot in the Dark and organizations like it are left to continue operating in a legal gray area. Live at the digital desk, Tanai Williamson, Cronkite News.
Check out this incredible image of a DPS Troopers patrol unit after a car crashed into it. The trooper was hurt but is recovering tonight.
According to this DPS tweet, it happened while the officer was assisting a stranded driver on State Route 87 north of Mesa on Monday. The elderly man who was behind the wheel told investigators he blacked out.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, the latest DPS recruiting tool geared toward revving up interest in joining their team.
Plus, new concerns tonight as fire crews prepare to battle Mother Nature while extinguishing wildfires up north.
All of its children had come to the Mother Church of Country Music. It was almost like a badge of honor that you had to bring your culture with you to the table. That's why Bob Wills and his guys brought us Western music. That's why Hank Williams brought the South with him from honky tonks. Johnny Cash brought the black lamb dirt of Arkansas. Bill Monroe brought music out of Kentucky bluegrass music. Willie Nelson brought his poetry from Texas. Patsy Cline brought her heartache from Virginia. I mean, it was the most wonderful parade of sons and daughters of America that brought their hearts and their souls and their experiences, and it gave us a great era in country music.
The U.S. Senate has confirmed President Donald Trump's appointment of a lawyer who was formerly Governor Doug Ducey's top staff attorney to be a U.S. District Court judge for Arizona. Michael Liberty of Scottsdale served as Ducey's general counsel during his first term. Both Arizona senators, Republican Martha McSally and Democrat Kyrsten Sinema, say they support the decision.
You may have noticed something new at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. A state trooper car is now on display there.
But why? We wanted to know. So Cronkite News reporter Bain Froney went to the airport to find out. Bain?
The Arizona Department of Public Safety is using the display as a recruitment magnet to attract people who are interested in becoming a state trooper. In Arizona, DPS officials say they have at least 100 active openings. Department of Public Safety officials trying something new. In order to fill vacancies, they set up this display at the airport of a trooper car and video screens in hopes of catching passengers' eyes.
We'll see if it works. It's an experiment. You stand looking to get your bag, you're going to see that video play. You have this display behind us, and then there's boards up all over the airport. Approximately 100,000 travelers come through Terminal 4 every day.
The vehicle inside obviously is eye-catching. A lot of people asking us if there's been an emergency, if there's something going on.
With law enforcement struggling to find new recruits, this display specifically targets people between the ages of 18 through 45.
We shop at your Costco, we live in your neighborhoods. There's nothing that makes us any different than the rest of the population other than the fact that we want to serve. DPS plans to advertise in more airports across the country, like in California and Washington. By putting our display up in their airports to drag people to Arizona where they can actually live a great life, have a great community, incredible weather, and have the respect of the community and law enforcement. So stand by, we're coming. As for the display here in Arizona, it's been up since June and is scheduled to stay up until the end of August.
If you're interested in applying, you need to be at least 21 years old and be physically fit so you can make it through the rigorous training to become a trooper. Live in the Broadcast Center, Bain Froney, Cronkite News.
A federal appeals court upheld the dismissal of the lawsuit aimed at shutting down a coal-fired power plant, an adjacent mine near the Arizona-New Mexico border. Environmental groups had targeted a 25-year lease extension for the Navajo mine and the Four Corners power plant. Challenging the US government did not consider clean energy alternatives or possible effects on endangered species. The power plant is one of 3 in the region that are scaling back operations as utilities shift towards natural gas and renewable energy sources.
Up next, we'll share how some ASU students are making strides when it comes to designing an inflatable exosuit to help people walk.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, Covering Sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
For some people with disabilities, it's hard to move around without a walker or a cane.
However, those days could soon be in the past, thanks to a new prototype device designed by ASU students. Take a look.
This is Carly Thalman. She's wearing a prototype version of soft exosuit technology. It may be a little funny looking now, but this device could be life-changing. Researchers at Arizona State University's bio-inspired Mechatronics Lab are working to make exosuits better, smarter, and lighter.
We are trying to use smart textiles and smart fabrics in a way that we can interface in with the human body. We hope that we can actually help people in need regain function again, be active with their everyday life and do things that they couldn't do before.
So this is basically the soft inflatable exosuit. It's based off of a neoprene sleeve, which is a stretchy material that can go cover your legs on top of it. So what we do here is we have 2 actuators in the back, which are called soft inflatable actuators. What they do is when they inflate, they stiffen up and straighten out. So we use that motion to help the leg straighten out as we walk. These actuators would inflate based on the walking timing, which we get from the smart shoe sensors. Basically, what the shoe sensors are insole pads, which are silicone tubes which are coiled up in different places in the foot. So we have 1 at the heel, 2 at the ball of the foot, and 1 at the toe. They take readings of the leg and give us information back into the system to tell it when to inflate or deflate on time.
Essentially, during stance phase, when your foot is on the ground, your joint needs a lot of support from this device. So that's when we make this exosuit very stiff by pumping a lot of air into it within a short amount of time. And then once we detect that your foot is about to leave the ground, that's when you don't really need a lot of support anymore, and rather you need a lot of freedom to rotate your knee joint. That's when we quickly take the air from the actuator, so it becomes very complex.
Here's how it works. When you start walking, the exosuit follows your steps and decides when to pump air in and out. Not everyone walks the same way. So the researchers use cameras to monitor those differences and make adjustments accordingly. For those with weaker muscles due to illness or injury, this could provide the assistance they need to get around without a walker or a cane. The scientists of this lab look forward to the day this technology becomes widely available and part of everyday life for people who need help getting around.
Students working on this project believe within the next 5 to 10 years, people will be wearing them. They're convinced the device is not going to be noticeable because it will look like part of your regular clothes. And most importantly, the benefits will be significant.
The cellar fire just south of Prescott is now 80% contained. The museum fire, that's 82% contained, still has officials worried. That's because the blaze destroyed much of the brush along the slopes of mountains, sparking flooding concerns. To prevent possible floodwaters from reaching the city if monsoon storms strike, crews laid sandbags out and stacked them up at both Oldham Park and Little Eldon Mountain. And those monsoon storms are expected to hit the valley possibly later tonight and tomorrow.
And when they do hit, they normally come with very little warning. The storms can also intensify very quickly, going from overcast skies to lightning, thunder, torrential downpours, and flash flooding, even massive dust storms, blinding motorists. And each year, drivers get caught off guard, stranded in deep water. The National Weather Service advises people not to cross flooded roads. Instead, turn around, don't drown. That's all pretty scary with all the monsoon season coming up, but I want to know what else is going on in the weather this week.
We're joined now by Lindsay Amundsen. And Lindsay, what are you tracking at the moment?
Yeah, it's looking a little scary out there tonight. We have high monsoon activity throughout the night, but it's also bringing us cooler temperatures, which a lot of us have asked for. But let's take a look at what the rest of the state is feeling right now and into tomorrow and into tonight. 104 at 6 p.m. when those storms roll in, 96 at 7 p.m. and down to 93 at 8 p.m. The storms will bring heavy rain and wind, so be careful on the roads out there. The storms will stick with us through the night into tomorrow when they start to disappear at 8 a.m. However, those cooler temperatures will stay with us throughout the day when we hit a high of 91 degrees by 4 p.m. So it's going to be a cool, cloudy day, and we won't even be hitting triple digits tomorrow. As we look at the rest of our week, sunny skies through Thursday, 101 degrees on Thursday. The rain will be joining us again on Friday with a high of 107 degrees, and the sun will be back for our weekend with a high of 110 degrees on Saturday, 108 on Sunday, and it's looking pretty consistent after that. Live in the Weather Center, I'm Lindsay Amundsen.
After the break, we take a look at how some Arizona students are learning science by studying sports. Don't go away.
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
On the next Arizona Horizon, SRP line workers talk about Light Up Navajo, an effort to get power to areas of the Navajo Reservation where up to 15,000 residents still lack access to electricity. So next, Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour, how to combat the shaming of students for deaths over school lunches. That's Tuesday on the PBS News Hour.
Shooting a basketball, throwing in a soccer ball, or riding a bike. They all involve science.
Lindsay Amundsen is joining us once again to show us how students are learning science through sports. Lindsay?
Students known as Chief Science Officers from around the world, including Mexico, Kuwait, and Africa, were in Tempe for the annual Chief Science Officers Leadership Training Institute at ASU. As part of the camp, the students were introduced to a company that makes learning a little more fun. The company, STEM Sports, created a curriculum that explores science, technology, engineering, and math topics using sports as its catalyst for learning. The curriculum is meant to get students' activity levels up, all while making it more fun.
For me,
obviously science is important because I teach it, and getting those kids that are interested in sports to kind of see the science in their sport that they like, but also those kids that are interested in science to see the fun in the sports that they may not be always interested in that way.
STEM sports takes the students outside the classroom, where they'll learn things like how temperatures affect how a basketball bounces, to the science behind shooting using launch angles and entry points.
It makes it more interesting learning the physics of the sport in addition to just the science side, because you get to both play the sport and learn.
The curriculum is aligned with science standards for both elementary school and middle school students that can be taught in the classroom, after school, or in summer camps. It's also a program that is for anyone, no matter their athletic ability.
You don't really need to be good at sports or very athletic to do it. You just need to know some physics and thermodynamics for some of it.
Learning STEM subjects usually means sitting at a desk inside a classroom all day. And although students won't play a full basketball game or soccer game, STEM sports adds an important aspect to each student's lives: physical activity.
They're going to get moving a little bit and get their heart rate rolling. And so we all know that the physically active kid is actually a better student. There's lots of science behind that. And so we're hoping to perpetuate that a little bit too. And that makes us pretty unique and different.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, STEM occupations are projected to increase by 12.5%, resulting in nearly 500,000 new jobs by 2024. STEM Sports hopes through integrating their curriculum into schools around the U.S., students will find future success in these occupations. Live in the studio, Lindsay Amundsen, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.